Welcome to this 11th lesson in our Citizens Constitutional Advocacy Council CCAC 1.0 training series. This is CCAC Lesson 1.11 in our series. At the end of our last lesson, we asked these questions. Where do our liberties come from? Do we obtain our freedom because the government gives it to us, or do we have freedom from a source that is independent of our government? What is the basis of our liberty? Where does basic liberty come from? Take a moment now to write down your answer to these questions in a short phrase or two. Call this a pre-quiz session if you like. Just pause this recording and jot down your thoughts as we continue. Where do our rights and our liberties ultimately come from? As you are writing down your own thoughts, your answers should follow along these lines. Our freedom comes from God. Our liberty comes from our Creator. We are endowed with our liberty, our rights, our freedom by our Creator. The laws of nature and nature's God entitle us to have our rights. Our rights are inalienable, meaning they cannot be taken from us by our government because government does not give them to us. We only lose our rights when we do something that forces us into a situation where we violate someone else's rights and must be held accountable for such violations. Otherwise, our governments do not have a right or a just power to interpose against our rights. We are governed by the principle of allegiance and protection as a principle of natural law. Our government has a duty of protection as much as we have a duty of allegiance. Government's place is simply to secure these rights, not to create these rights. These are the general ideas. Do your ideas run along these same lines? If not, go back and review this list again. But don't worry, we will go through this now in detail. Let us now discuss where our liberties come from more systematically. So to start, we need to turn to the Declaration of Independence, where the Founding Fathers wrote for us some simple ideas that remind us of where we obtain our liberty. As we get started, let's be very clear. We do not apologize for turning to the Declaration of Independence, which is a part of the U.S. Constitution. It is where we must begin, just as our founders did. Those who do not believe the Declaration of Independence is part of our Constitution are uninformed and misguided. The Declaration first declared us free and independent states, and that each of the original 13 colonies had the right to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states, like the state of Great Britain, did, and also referenced in the document that these sovereign states may of right do likewise. And the representatives of the 13 colonies signed under the good people's authority, declaring these things through a mutual pledge of their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, and dated the document July 4, 1776. This declaration is an official legal governmental document for this legitimate purpose, and therefore is a maturing part of the Constitution of the United States. It is the organic law of this country. These were lawful and legal acts of a constitutional nature. We as Americans recognize and legitimize this document just as much as they did then. It was one of our constitutional documents, meaning it established what constituted our governmental structure and remains so today. As such, it has the full and complete authority of law. If you have a copy of the Declaration of Independence, please read along with us in it. The Declaration starts when it says this: when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. So we see that the people were entitled then, by the laws of nature and nature's God, to assume a place among the powers of the earth. That is, as nations among all the nations of the earth, the separate and equal station, technically 13 separate and distinct nations or states, like Great Britain was a state, about to be declared such by the representatives of the United States of America. This was an unalienable right entitled of the people of this country of that day, which has been passed down to us as the posterity of generations later, something acknowledged in the preamble of the U.S. Constitution, which we possess as individuals upon our individual birth or naturalization into this great nation. And so that we are clear in its meaning, as we have shared before, perhaps it is good to add the word human to these laws of nature so that we describe them as the laws of human nature rather than the laws of physical nature like gravity, photosynthesis, covalent bonds, inertia, or a vast assortment of other physical, natural laws, they happen to legitimately exist in the natural world. And we notice as well, in opposition to the laws of instinctive or animal nature, which are just as real, which we may also experience to some extent as human beings, seeing that we possess some similar instinctive attributes as the animal kingdom in some respects. But for the political purposes that we now wish to understand, it is best that we differentiate the laws of animal nature or the laws of instinct from the laws of human nature. This difference is because we are talking about laws that are political, governmental, social or societal laws, economic laws, relational laws of the community between men and women as against other men and women in a governmental context. The physical world and animals cannot experience these things. We hope that makes sense. Laws of human nature. This completes the 11th lesson entitled CCAC 1.11. Thank you for listening to this 11th segment as part of our CCAC 1.0 series in our national orientation. Please join us for the next session in this series as we continue to unfold the Citizens Constitutional Advocacy Council story. This is the extraordinary process in which CCAC will successfully provide continuity of government of, by, and for the people. In our next lesson, CCAC 1.12, we will go on to explain further details of how we implement our Citizens Constitutional Advocacy Council. If you realize the necessity of revitalizing constitutional polity at the state and local level, please join this cause by going to www.ccac-us.com and registering on our official website. Take Pre-Quiz 1.0. We then urge you to work through the entire CCAC 1.0 series to understand the continuity of essential information we provide to help us all be on the same page. Then, upon passing the post-quiz with a perfect score, you will be directed on how to take the next step in the process of becoming a member of this vital organization. Please don't shortchange this process. Listen to and study the CCAC 1.0 material carefully. If you have questions or concerns about what you are learning so far, or issues affecting your community, please refer to the links connected to this lesson or contact the person who gave you this information. We extend our best wishes from the Citizens Constitutional Advocacy Council.